Hey everyone, Tracy here. Thanks so much for tuning into my YouTube channel. Today I have a fun new product that I'm going to try out for you all and review. If it seems like I've been doing a few of these review videos, it's because I have. While we were away overseas, I just had a whole bunch of different companies send me some freebies, and so there's just a bit of a backlog of catching up with trying them all out and passing along that knowledge to all of you. This particular set of Paul Rubens extra large oil pastels, you can see how big they are here. Each oil pastel has the equivalent of 7 regular oil pastels. They actually are labeled as oil paints. That is a mislabeling, and I have spoken to them about that, and possibly something in translation. It's a Chinese company, but I've used various of their products, and so far I have not been disappointed. So yes, they're oil pastels, not oil paints. And this particular set has traveled halfway around the world with me because I was leaving for Europe to teach at the time that the company got in touch with me. And so I said, well, hey, how about you send them to Italy and I'll see if I can use them with my students at the retreat that I'm running there. And they arrived on the last day of the retreat in Italy. So then we flew to Spain. And then when I actually opened up the package, which came in this lovely box here. There we go. Get it in the camera's eye there. Which is a nice sturdy box. When I actually opened it up before the retreat in Spain, I kind of realized that I needed to do something with it once I got home, because I work with oil pastels in my retreats, but I usually work with small oil pastels in quite a different way. And I just really couldn't see how I could incorporate these into what I do in my retreat. So then I emailed the company back and I said, I'm so sorry, but is it okay that I bring these back home to Australia, to my studio, have a play with them in my studio, and then do the video? So they've been very patient with me. I think I received them in August and it is now November, and I'm ready to show you what they can do. So when I opened the box, each oil pastel was individually wrapped or individually stored in these plastic tubes, and there is a cap on either end. There's a piece of foam on either end, so quite protected. And I guess this is one of the reasons that they were able to travel around the world with me and have made it home safe and sound. Now, each pastel also has a wrapper on it, which is sectioned off into 7 little sections. So you can see that as you actually begin to use up the oil pastel, you can tear off one of the sections individually rather than tearing all the paper off. Having said that, I had a little play with them yesterday, just so I could kind of get a feel for what they might do. And I did find that it was quite hot here yesterday, and I just found in the humidity and with my hands that these little bits of paper did slide around a bit and start to come off when I was really kind of getting warmed up. So I guess it'll depend on the climate where you are, whether you'll be able to, whether this actual coating will stay on, whether this paper will stay on. So what I wanted to do today is to use some inspiration from one of my favorite artists, from Marc Chagall, and we were lucky enough to again see some of his works in person while we were in Paris, and I just love his colors, the narrative, the beautiful storytelling qualities, the whimsy, and I just love it. If I ever get a compliment, which I do now and again, that my work reminds people of Chagall, it is like the highest compliment that I could receive. So we're going to actually have a play with this painting, I'm just going to open it up in here, which is Le Champ de Mars, painted in 1954-55. And it features the Eiffel Tower and the Arc de Triomphe. And I'm going to, I kind of chose it because I want to use as many of these colors as I can. And this has a pretty primary kind of color palette. So I think we'll be able to do something with this. Now, I'm working on a paper I have only just started to use, and it is Hoo. It's actually, it goes with the marker set that I've just received from them, and I haven't done a video on that one yet. But the reason I thought I'd try it with these oil pastels is because it's a really lovely, smooth paper. And I find sometimes with oil pastels, if you use watercolor paper with a bit of tooth to it, that you can get a lot of the paper showing through if you don't kind of overblend. And I want to try not to blend too much with these. I want to see how the pastels actually work, whether they're creamy, whether they sink into the paper. And so I'm going to use this just as a tester. This is only 90-pound paper, 9 inches by 12 inches, but I think it will do the job really well for this little kind of practice exercise. So as you can see, the colors in this image by Chagall are mostly blues. Now, this is a fairly limited set. I believe they do have some sets of smaller oil pastels that have a lot more variety of color. So this is probably a little tricky for me to work with because of the limits of the set. But again, as I said, you know, the primaries are there. So let's see what can happen when we blend them. And I won't try and get every element in with this painting, but I'm going to take some elements from this painting and add them to the this piece here. Now, the one thing that's missing out of the Paul Rubens set, so you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I think it's supposed to have 12. Am I missing one somewhere? Okay, so I had to have a little scout around the studio then. I was missing one of the sets, so there are 12 in the set. So this purple is also included in this set. What they don't have in this set of 12 is a white or a black, which I will need for this image. So I've pulled those out of another set that I have of oil pastels. And this is the Morandi set from Culox, available through Lightwish. And I'll put all the links down below so that you can find these products and try them out yourself. Okay, so I'm going to start off with the black. And I guess the thing is that for a drawn element with a large pastel like this, I kind of do want to use a corner. So I'm actually going to take the bottom paper off. And I'm just going to start with using the woman as the main feature. I'm using a fairly light touch, but then you can kind of vary the intensity of your touch as well. Okay, just pull in a couple of elements up here. Obviously we can't fit everything in, but we're going to just try and fit a few different elements in. before we start layering up the rest of the painting. So I'm doing all of these initial marks with the black. We'll see how that goes once we start blending. I do want to get the bird in here, so let's pop him in first. And I'd like to get her hand in. Maybe the hand is behind the bird. Get some of these little houses in here. And then this whole kind of swatch of flowers, which is where a lot of the color is, I'm going to have to kind of put intersperse around here. All right, I think that's enough as far as the drawn line is concerned. And now what we're going to do is just begin to bring in that dominant blue and perhaps mix it up a little bit with the deeper blues and the purples. Later on we can layer the whites over the top, but we just want to start with getting the blue in. It's quite, it's lovely and creamy. Very highly pigmented. Just going to get it in quite scribbly because I'll be using some of the other blues as well. And we might get that dark red in also. So we use this deep red. It's actually called Chinese orange, so this is actually ruby red here. Let's do a mixture of both. So we'll get the ruby red, and then we'll bring in some of this Chinese orange over the top just for a little bit of variety. Don't worry about it blending with the dark, with the black. That's going to add more depth to the piece, and you can kind of blend the colors one over the top of the others. Okay, well, I have that in my hand. I'm going to bring down a little bit through here to get some of those kind of floral shapes in, making sure that I do small, medium, and large shapes. And then let's come back to the blue. You can see as I'm drawing with this, the paper is starting to come off a little bit. So I can be quite loose with it at this point because later on I'm going to be blending with a cotton bud and some alcohol. So right now I'm just laying down some color. And it is super smooth. super creamy, and the pigment is quite saturated and intense. All right, so that's enough with the lighter blue. I'm now going to bring in some of the deeper blue, just in some of these areas where I can see a shift, and just to give some diversity of color. Completely forgot about her face, which also has to be blue. Another way of kind of approaching this would be to begin with a colored paper. So it'd be interesting to see what it would feel like if you actually worked on brown paper, or if you painted the paper first, say in a complementary color, and came into the piece with the blues, say over the top of an orange. Alright, so enough of that one. Let's pop some purples in. Ooh, they layer really beautifully. All right, so at this point, we can always come back again. We can go back and forth with these colors. At this point, I want to bring in that brighter green in the side profile face. A little bit of that brighter green down here as well. And up through here. The trick with this area is going to be not blending too much. We don't want it to end up being too muddy. So we want to kind of pull these colors in and then not be tempted to overblend. Next thing I'm going to do is pull in the white soft oil pastel and just run it over the blue underneath, try and get some texture. So again, we won't be over blending the hair. Some highlights through the face. Now I'm just going to use a Q-tip, a cotton bud, to actually blend some of these areas, move some of the pastel around. If it gets too muddy, too dark, then you can just change it up. You can also get some different effects by using some rubbing alcohol or even some linseed oil to blend colors. So have a play with those various different ways that you can blend. But the thing is, with oil pastels or with any pastels, with soft pastels as well, you want to avoid over blending. There's a tendency to just go a little too hard on the blending, and then everything ends up looking same, and it kind of loses its spontaneity and its freshness. So I'm going to blend in some areas, and then I'm going to leave other areas completely unblended. What I am wanting to do is get a little bit of definition down here in the elements like the houses. So kind of blending around the edges of the houses. So we can get a little bit more of a sense of the line work. Just pushing that line. Just softly filling in those white spaces, those gaps. If you need to change your cotton bud, just grab another one. So let's work a little bit on the face up here. Keep an eye on what kind of effects are happening as you move around the piece. Everything is a potential for mark making. We can also come back in and add line work after we finish blending. And we can add more dark if we need to. You can bring a bamboo skewer in to add more texture. I'll just bring you down so you can see what's happening here with the skewer. We can bring some texture through the hair. Again, if you find something that you like, as in you're enjoying the texture created by the skewer, just be aware that it doesn't have to be in every single place. You can, things lose their magic if you overdo them. If you find a mark that you like and then you do it over and over and over again in multiple places, it will lose its magic or its power. Okay, I'm liking that so far. Face is a bit wonky, but that's okay. Adds personality. Kind of wish I had more of a teal or a turquoise to add in. Just a bit more of this color. I might just cheat and I might grab one of the oil pastels from the other set, just so that I can have a little bit more of a highlight. It's better. You can, of course, also blend with your fingers. But again, don't overdo it. If you add a new thing into an area, be mindful that you'll need to add it into a few different places so that it doesn't stand out too much or draw the eye to one area over the other areas. So that's nice. All right, let's pop that one away. Come back to the Paul Rubens set. And I'm just going to spend some more time blending. Let's say, for example, there was something that you weren't enjoying. Say I wanted to change the line of this face. So what I could do is I could just bring that in, just like that. And then I could soften that darker line through there, and then bring the white over the top. And just like that, I've fixed the problem. Yeah, I like that much better. Okay. At this point, I'm just deciding, how much is enough and how much do I want to leave kind of raw and how much do I want to blend. So I'm just going to move this Q-tip around and try not to overdo it. Just make some small moves, blending some of the colors together, leaving some of that kind of white space that's created by the kind of rough edge of the pastel, and then blending other areas together. Leaving some of the colors like these purples and different blues kind of separate from each other, and in other areas blending a little more. But overall, apart from the limitation of the colors in this set, I'd be really interested to try out the larger set of the regular size pastels. I think the vibrancy is gorgeous. And I love the consistency and the texture. I'd just like to have a few more colors at my fingertips. Remembering that in this section here, we've got a lot of saturated color. We don't want to overblend. I'm going to use one last clean cotton bud. And I think I'm really enjoying just having a little look up in the camera window, getting a little bit of distance from it, loving the shape better, loving the tones. I think we're almost there. The last thing I'm going to do is to use my bamboo skewer to add a little bit more texture, a little bit more graffiti, a little bit more scratched marks through. And then I might just add a couple of highlights along the eyelid here. So when you're adding these overlayers and trying to shift those darker lines a little bit, my camera is being a little bit temperamental. So just shut down again, but hopefully you saw the rest of that. So just using this bamboo skewer to scratch through. Where there are other colors underneath, where the oil pastels are layered, you will actually get a little bit of a lovely effect where you can actually see the lighter colors coming through as you scratch through the darker colors. So I could keep working on it a little bit more, but I think I'm really liking the freshness. I'm very mindful of the fact that we do want to actually leave some of those kind of rougher drawn lines as a counterpoint to the more smudged, blended or smoothed out lines. So I think I'm going to stop there, but I've really enjoyed playing with these. And it's been a while since I've actually played with oil pastels as a medium on their own. And I think I'm going to explore further because this is quite beautiful. And I have some ideas that I'd like to explore. So hopefully you'll be seeing me work with these more. Please ask any questions down in the comments below. I love hearing from you, and I always try and write back. So thanks again to Paul Rubens for sending me these maxi extra large oil pastels. I really enjoyed using them, and I'd love to see what you guys think of them, if you have them in your kit or if you decide to go ahead and buy some, or even any other oil pastels that you might have. Just pull them out and have a play. We'll see you next week.